Yo, quick video. I'm quickly going to make a tier list of all the Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare characters. I'm going to quickly talk about them and put them in a tier list which I've created with the help of this guy right here, who basically made all the pictures and made this process a whole lot easier. So I've created a few categories here: God tier, pretty strong, playable, average, not that strong, pretty bad, and pure trash. Now, of course, this is all my personal opinion, and this is based on someone who played this game for a really fucking long time, about 500 hours on Origin, I think, and I pretty much exclusively play this game on PC. And yeah, my playtime is probably 95% made up of Garden versus Graveyard, I think it's called in English. Yeah, maybe please bear with me. I play this game on German because I am from Austria, and yeah, so I usually play this game on German, and maybe I don't know a few names, but I think I can manage. And yeah, I really fucking love this game, so I thought make a quick tier list video because I really enjoy this type of videos. So yeah, let's get started with probably my least favorite set of characters, the Jumpers. Well, I don't think any of them are particularly strong, and generally the Jumper playstyle in Garden Warfare 2 at this stage is really fucking boring, because what usually ends up happening is you use your abilities, slime, burrow, and you get one kill, and then you have to eat pretty much the zombie, and you can do nothing for a few seconds, and at this point you're usually dead. So yeah, this is by far my least favorite class by really a huge margin. But anyway, I've played all of them, so I might as well rank them. In my opinion, the best jumper only barely reaches average, and it's Count Chompula. I mean, he is technically the best of the worst ones here. But yeah, the reason for that is because if you eat a zombie with him, you instantly regenerate, I think, 50 HP, which is pretty nice and significantly boosts your chances of surviving. And yeah, you also, if you're low on HP, you can sometimes quickly snag, a low level spawn zombies and get your HP boost for that. Other than that, yeah, he's just, not that strong, honestly. Jumper, as I said, it's not really a lot of fun to play. But he is the only one that's really can make a case for average, so I'm going to put him here. Next up, in not that strong, I'm going to put the Fire Jumper. And yeah, these three, the Electric Jumper, the Toxic Jumper, and the Fire Jumper, all pretty much work the same. Instead of having a bite attack, they have a spray, which has a little bit more range, just a few meters. And the Fire Jumper pretty much is a flamethrower, kind of. So that's pretty cool. However, he's still super weak, and pretty much every other character from the zombies can kill you if you show up, and you can't one-hit kill them with one of your abilities. So yeah, still pretty bad. However, he is, in my opinion, the best one out of these three, because fire does, it does fire damage, of course, over time, and in my opinion, that's usually better than these two right here. Also not as strong, I'm going to put the Jester Jumper. Now his kind of upgrade over the regular jumper is that he eats faster, so you can have less downtime, which is a huge advantage actually. I didn't notice actually for quite some time, but yeah, I saw a video, and this is pretty much what it does. And however, that downtime still is too long in my opinion, and he's still too strong, too weak, and it doesn't make him all that strong. However, it is a nice boost over the standard jumper, and that's why I put him in not as strong. In pretty bad, I have three different jumpers. I have the Electric Jumper, the Toxic Jumper, because they work very similar. The Electric Jumper basically is more effective when there are many enemies close together. However, this is a situation which is really, really bad as a jumper, because you get wrecked immediately pretty much. Maybe if there's an engineer, he can throw his microphone and you're immediately done for. So you never really want to play against huge groups of zombies as a jumper, because you have no chance of surviving pretty much. And the Toxic Jumper is super similar, both do overtime damage, but the Fire Jumper basically does more damage and is better in every way, in my opinion. Other than that, these three are super similar, as I said. Also in pretty bad, I'm going to put the Hot Rod Jumper. Now, he is actually a pretty fast boy, and he is, in my opinion, the one who is the most fun to play. However, he's still not that effective. Essentially, you trade, I think, 25 HP for more movement speed, which is quite nice as a jumper. And also, if you eat a zombie, you get a really cool engine sound effect, and you are really fast for a very short time. You get that short burst of super high mobility where you can run super fast. However, unless you still can't jump any higher, but it's quite nice and it's a lot of fun. However, the 25 HP, yeah, it makes you even more vulnerable, and you pretty much, if there's a group, you die immediately. And yeah. And then we have pure trash, where we have three, in my opinion. Still, the most unique one is the Metallic Jumper, which basically is kind of I don't know, it's supposed to be the tank of the plant. However, yeah, essentially it's the complete opposite of the Hot Rod Jumper. This jumper is slower, but therefore has more HP, which, occasionally is handy, but still, you're so slow, and it's just, it sucks to play this character, honestly. Also, the normal jumper, yeah, in my opinion, there's no reason really to play him, because the chest jumper is a straight upgrade. From what I know, don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure the chest jumper has the same stats, but, can eat zombies slightly faster. So there's absolutely no reason to play this one. And also, I don't know what his name is, but the Swamp Jumper, yeah, I don't remember his name, because I hardly ever played him. He has also a spray, which is pretty cool. However, I don't know, he has this super weird mechanic when it comes to regenerating health, and also just, it's not any fun. So yeah, let's move on to some other characters. Yeah, let's continue with Sunflower, also a set of characters which, I don't know. It's quite fun if you play it with friends, because you can basically revive each other and heal and do create really cool stuff. However, if you play alone, obviously you only have around that HP, don't do that much damage. Now, granted, it's way more fun than playing any of these ones, but still, yeah. Well, let's see. So one of them which I actually really like is the Metal Flower, which I actually think is definitely playable. So the Metallic Flower works very similar to the Metallic Jumper. You are slightly slower, but you have 50 more HP, which actually gives you more HP than most other plants, actually. And yeah, this is pretty handy, actually, because you still do pretty nice damage, even though you shoot quite slow. You still do, I think, 7 or 8 damage up close, which is not bad at all. And yeah, I think this is actually a pretty fun character to be playing, honestly. Especially if you're in a group and you can heal each other up. Yeah, it's pretty strong, and you still get all the abilities from the Sunflower. Like, for example, the Sunbeam, which is actually pretty good with this one, because usually you die pretty quickly, because you don't move, obviously. But yeah, the Metallic Flower can take a lot more of a beating, so I don't know. It's pretty fun, actually, to play, so if you think about it. Another one which I think is really fun is the Sunflower, I think it's her name. It's also a really cool character, to be honest. You have a 3-round burst. Does pretty good damage, and it's overall just a pretty nice Sunflower. I think actually I might put this one in pretty strong and this one in playable, because this one still is a lot more fun. Well, it's not fun, but it's better, honestly. Yeah. Another one I think we can put it here in playable is the Fire Sunflower, which just has, I think, less ammo per clip, but therefore does fire damage. And I think with the regular Sunflower, I'm pretty sure you have 60 rounds, and you usually don't need that much. But trading a bit of magazine capacity for damage is pretty cool. So I think playable is where this one belongs. Yeah, also I think, I don't know, the alien flower is pretty weird. So it has this weird type of damage which lingers in the air a bit and disperses and does damage over time if the enemy stand at it. Kind of similar to the smoke grenades of these guys. I'm going to put it in average still because oftentimes it's not that effective, but sometimes, especially when the zombies are at a choke point. For example, which map is this? I think it's Main Road. The second garden, there is a spot where the teleporter is in the cellar, and yeah, you can do a shit ton of damage with this because it's such a choke point, and you can absolutely annihilate zombies with the alien flower there. But usually it's not that great. But sometimes it's in the right situation, this can be really powerful. But usually it's below average in my opinion. So that evens out to average. I think that's fair. Mystic Flower, boah, holy shit, this one is pure trash in my opinion. This is very similar to the Future Cactus. You have basically a shot you can charge up and do a lot of damage with. But while the Future Cactus still is pretty good, even if you don't charge up, this is pretty much unusable in my opinion. If you charge up, you pretty much always have to charge, hit, and then follow up, but it's super inconsistent to pull off, honestly. And yeah, usually you get completely run over by pretty much anything the zombies have to offer. So yeah, not pure trash in my opinion, not really fun. Electric Flower. I don't know, I'm going to put you in not that strong. I honestly haven't played this a whole lot, but from what I remember, it's just not that strong, honestly. It's definitely playable. It's very similar to the regular Sunflower, and of course does electric damage. If the enemies are tightly grouped together, it's a lot better. But usually I would prefer either the normal Sunflower, which I'm also gonna put here, or the Mystic Flower. Now I'm not quite sure, but I think the Mystic Flower actually has the same stats as the regular, just looks way cooler. So obviously they belong in the same tier. They both have 60 shots, fire about the same, do pretty much the same damage, so I think they are the same. I'm not 100% sure, but it sure feels like it. So these three feel very similar. Moving on, Cactus, or Cacti I think, is the plural here. I'm not the best one in English, but yeah, whatever. Fire Cactus. Yeah, Fire Cactus is actually, in my opinion, pretty strong because you do great damage, and it's fire damage, of course. You have a nice rate of fire, nice accuracy, pretty fun to play, honestly. Generally on Cactus, Cactus can be a lot of fun in the right maps, and if the zombies don't advance too quickly to your garden, because if it's one of these games where the zombies pretty much at minute 3 have taken a garden, playing Cactus sucks ass, and it's absolutely no fun. So yeah. But usually, especially in Walnut Hill, the final objectives where the zombies have to take over the villa from Deputy, for example, their Cactus is a lot of fun. And also, funnily enough, many of the first gardens also are a lot of fun with Cactus because you have nice long ranges where you can snipe zombies, which is what the Cactus is designed for. So I think Fire Cactus, pretty strong. Also, Future Cactus, also pretty strong. If you're going up against a player who is really good with the Future Cactus, unfortunately, I'm only average, I would say. Definitely not the best Future Cactus player on the planet. But if you go up against someone who really has mastered Future Cactus, they can absolutely annihilate you. And yeah, look out for these guys. And also, unlike the Mystic Flower, the regular shot, if you even haven't charged, I think it still does 23 or 22 damage, so this is pretty solid, and you can shoot really fast. The only problem with the future cutters is you don't have, a very large magazine capacity. And also you don't even need to zoom in order for your shots to hit. Because even without, right clicking or zooming in, the future cutter still has pretty good accuracy. So yeah, future character is pretty cool. Shade characters, I think, is the name of this, from Legends of the Law DLC. Playable in my opinion. So yeah, this is pretty unique because once again you are slightly slower, have more HP, and this one, it kind of does a little bit of splash damage also. It's really weird because the shots land, they do the regular, 20-ish, 16 or something damage, and then if you don't hit, they can explode after, I don't know, a second or so, and still do splash damage. Usually though, the splash damage is so low that it doesn't matter all that much unless, once again, the zombies are super, on top of each other and really bunch up, then it can be pretty strong. And also what I really like about this characters is that generally you can take a more aggressive stance because you have more HP, even though you are slow, but still quite a lot of fun. However, I don't think he is as strong as these two. I don't know the name of this. Bandit characters, I think it is. The one that shoots fully automatic. I don't know. When I first got, because this actually was one of the first characters I got, I think it was the first. At first, I really enjoyed this one, but over time, I liked him less and less. And the reason for that is you have a really low magazine capacity, because remember, this one is full auto, so, you have a really high rate of fire. Damage is not that high. I think it's very comparable to the, regular foot soldier. And the big problem here is, obviously with the characters, your first shots are pretty accurate. However, since this one shoots so fast, the accuracy, I think it doesn't reset fast enough. And so, when you're at your 7th, 8th, 9th shot and so on, it is really actually hard to hit your target because, the accuracy goes down so fast and you shoot everywhere but don't hit the target. And so I think it's honestly not that strong, and usually not that great, and you rarely see these characters actually. However, the only thing that's really cool about this one is this, I think, is on the plant side the most effective drone killer. If you have lots of engineers playing on the enemy team and you get constantly harassed by drones, this, I think, is one of the most effective, if not the most effective drone killer that the plants have. Next up, ice characters. Yeah, also pretty bad in my opinion. The problem here is you have really low damage, and basically the idea with ice is you hit an enemy multiple times and they freeze up, and making them very easy to kill. However, the ice characters take so many shots to actually freeze an enemy that it's pretty much useless. And also with the characters, you usually, are somewhere in the backlands, have far ranges, and what usually happens, an enemy gets hit, 2-3 times, and they immediately oh god, go into cover, and which makes the freezing ability pretty much useless. So I don't know. Also, as I said, damage here is really weak. I think in terms of damage output, this is overall the weakest characters. So yeah, pretty bad. I think is at a safe place. Citrus characters. Yeah, I think this belongs in average. This is the one from the, I don't know, some drink promotion I think was going on there at the time when we got this character. Yeah, I think it's pretty average, honestly. You have a 3-round burst with this one, which does splash damage. Now that sounds honestly pretty cool, but the damage itself is not that high, and also accuracy, similar to the bandit characters, goes down relatively fast, it feels like. So after some time it really becomes hard to hitting your enemies, and yeah, you usually don't quite kill the enemies fast enough, honestly, and the splash damage, even though it sounds really cool in theory, it's pretty limited, honestly. You really don't do all that much splash damage with this one. You really have to hit the enemy, in order to actually put out a lot of damage. So yeah, I think this is pretty average. Also, the regular cactus, I think, well, I'm not quite sure. It's definitely average or playable, I think. You know what? Let's go with playable. This is honestly better because you just do more damage, and what is really nice about this cactus is it has a nice balance of damage, accuracy, and magazine capacity. The magazine capacity here, I think, is I'm not quite sure, but it's definitely higher than most other cactus, which makes it really nice, especially if there are many waves of zombies coming. So I think playable is where you belong. Camo cactus, man, this is really strong to rate, honestly. I've made up my mind a bit about this before, and I'm going to put it in playable. Well, right now that I think about it, I'm going to put it in average. Because the thing here with this is, it's by far the most situational character in Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare 1. Because there are some gardens where you have really long ranges, pretty much all of the first gardens on the maps, you have really long sightlines, and this thing absolutely can annihilate people if you're good with it, With this one also, you really need to be good in order to be effective. You have this crazy wide zoom and this very low rate of fire. However, with a headshot, you'd only do 66 damage regardless the range, which means you can pretty much two-shot almost everything except an all-star. And that is pretty fucking strong, honestly, because you go like boom, boom, and enemy is dead. And even at the farthest, at the longest ranges. However, pretty much hip firing without you right clicking or something is awful. It's pretty much like rolling a dice and seeing if you hit the enemy. It's pure RNG, and that's awful. And yeah, if you have a garden where there are no long sidelines, this becomes honestly even worse than these jumpers, because it's really, really hard to get kills this way. And also if you have a lot of enemies who are playing, constantly running around, riding the, what's this thing called? Anyway, which are constantly jumping around in this, camo cactus becomes really hard to play. So I think average is pretty fair. Which pulls us to our final cactus, which is the electric cactus, and honestly, it's not that strong, if you ask me. Once again, you have lower damage, lower magazine capacity, however, you get electric damage, which is pretty cool if you have multiple enemies. If you play Garden Ops, this is actually one of my favorite characters, because obviously you have lots of small zombies, and this one becomes really effective actually. However, in Garden vs Graveyards, usually there aren't 3 or more enemies close together, and the damage you lose is pretty significant. And well, it's not actually that much, but it's definitely noticeable. And generally, I'd rather take higher base damage or faster fire rate over the electric damage, which pretty much 9 out of 10 times doesn't do anything. Alright, so let's go with the piece, and finally we have some god tier characters here, at least one. The Agent P, I mean, who didn't see that coming? Agent P is, in my opinion, the strongest plant character. You only have 100 HP, but the damage you can do if you have played Garden Warfare anytime, you know it. And pretty much every game, at least one of the plant players plays Agent P. So he's pretty fucking strong. And also you get all the P's abilities, which are, in my opinion, the P has arguably the strongest set of abilities. The Exploding Beam is really strong. Hyper is really good. It's basically a direct upgrade from the Rocket Jump. It allows you to run super fast and jump really high. And the only thing that really is not that great is the MGP, which I barely ever use because it's It's really fucking bad. You probably do more damage just with the HP than the machine gun P with the ability. So yeah, not this thing, Agent P. I think there's no debating that this is fucking god tier because it really is. Barrier shooter, yeah, honestly, not that strong. It's very similar to the standard P, except you shoot a lot slower, do a slightly bit more damage, and do a slightly bit more splash damage. However, the difference there is not that much, and honestly, in my opinion, it's not worth bothering. It's one of the weakest Ps. In my opinion, it is the weakest P of all. Obviously, I don't know, should I put it in average? You still can definitely get kills with this, and you can do reasonably well. Especially when this thing was released, I remember that the barrier shooter was really fucking strong. It was pretty much, only the Agent P I think was stronger, but they significantly nerfed it because the splash radius and splash damage was just too much to handle for the game. And everyone would, flock to this because it's really easy to play, really easy to get kills. So I'm going to put it in not that strong. Moving on, Ice P. Yeah, I think Ice P is pretty average, honestly. Once again, it's definitely, I can't actually put it in playable. It's it's a lot better than, it's the best ice character. Let's put it that way. In my opinion, it's the best ice character. It's actually, if I think about it, it's not actually. It's not the strongest ice character. However, it still is very close to the regular P. And you still do a nice damage, have a bit of splash damage, and you can still freeze enemies. And especially in the plants, if you combo that with, the ice piece you can plant in the flower pots, you can pretty consistently ice players, and that's cool, honestly, and really strong, so playable if you can pull it off. Also in the can, I'm gonna put the Fire P. Once again, these two pretty similar. This one has fire damage, of course, which in combination with splash damage is pretty nice. Okay, moving on. Revolver P, or Law P, I think. This is also, if you can master this one, this is, in my opinion, I'm going to also put this in God tier. Because if you're a player who has really good aim, and knows how to play the game, knows how to hide, knows the spots of the teleporter and stuff like that, this thing can absolutely annihilate people. And for a long time, this was my favorite class of all, the characters in the entire game. Because you have, I think the fire rate is almost as fast as you can, click your mouse. And so you only have 6 shots, but they do, if you hit a headshot, I think they do 33 damage, I think, up close, which is really, really good. Now, obviously, you lose splash damage entirely, because it's pretty much projectile based, similar to a cactus, only with less, long range capabilities. And on top of that, you get all the great abilities from the P. You get Hyper, you get the Beam, and you can definitely annihilate people with this. I had games where I dropped 40 or 50 kills and got, easily got a 20 kill streak with this one. Usually I'm not great, but the Agent P, I really love this character. And as I said, the list is obviously subjective to my playstyle. And, if you know how to play this character, this is really fucking strong. And usually you can kill zombies faster than you can even blink. So I think this is kind of deserving of gold tier. Regular P, pretty strong, honestly. I think this is one of the most underrated characters in the game, because it's just a regular P and almost everyone thinks, oh yeah, this and this, and also the Toxic P, they are just straight upgrades, which is not the case, because this one has an awesome fire rate, awesome damage, nice big splash damage, and overall is really well balanced. has great traits all around and is, just a lot of fun to play. So pretty strong in my opinion. Toxic P, also pretty strong. You also see this character a lot. However, I don't think it's nearly as good as these two and two other characters we will see later. This thing is still, it's a lot of fun to play because you have, I think, the biggest splash damage, but you also do, toxic damage over time. So with this one, sometimes it's really just laughable. You can randomly shoot at a group of enemies and get 1 or 2 kills out of it from 500 meters away or something. However, the base damage is only 27, I think, up close, or 26, which is not that great, and especially if you're in a one-on-one situations with other characters, it's not that strong. So pretty strong, still pretty strong, especially against a large group of enemies where you can, pretty much poison 3 people and do ridiculous amounts of splash damage. Then this thing absolutely kills. However, in 1v1s, it's still obviously pretty strong because you have all the P's great abilities, okay damage, so pretty strong. Commando P, this is, in my opinion, pretty average. It's, it's fully automatic, no splash damage. Just average. The Plasma, I think, Plasma P, also pretty average. I think this is also one of the most overrated characters. You have, it fires fast, pretty much like the future characters, and you have a charge shot. However, I don't know, it doesn't really resonate with me all that much, and I don't know. If I play this, I usually don't do very well, and it's just not that much fun. Nearly as, not as much fun as all these other options you have as the P class. Alright, let's get started with the zombies, and let's start with my favorite classes here, All-Star, which in my opinion are just a fuck ton of fun to play all around with, because you have 2 really strong abilities. You have the Imp, which can, if you're lucky, can instantly kill even a group of plants, and then you have Tackling, which does pretty much the same. So let's start with the regular one, which I'm going to put in pretty strong, because the regular is actually kind of a nice one, because it's really well balanced. You have a lot of good traits, fast fire rate, doesn't overheat really, and nice accuracy. Obviously damage at range is pretty laughable, honestly. So I think especially close range, this one still, you can put out an insane amount of damage, and often I just, clear an entire garden with 4 plants, kill 1 with an imp, run 2 over with the tackling sprint or ultra tackling, and then take 1 out with the football gun. So really strong. Now let's move on with also another really, really underrated character, and this is the Gold Star. The Gold Star pretty much takes all of the good stuff from the regular All-Star and just kind of amplifies it. At least this is what it feels to me. The projectiles with this one travel a lot faster since it's golf balls. Damage is still great, and in my opinion, it feels pretty much like a straight upgrade from the regular All-Star. Nice damage, great abilities, a lot of fun to play with, and really, really strong. I've got a massive streaks with the Gold Star, and obviously you have 200 HP, which so it's really hard to kill you. The only thing to look out for are jumpers, which, as I said, many people don't even play much, and beans, of course. But every zombie has to deal with these things. And other than that, I've easily dropped a few 20 streaks with the Gold Star, because you can really just, be a little further back and just snipe people pretty much. Wrestling star, yeah, not that strong in my opinion. Um, you do a lot of damage with this one, however, you shoot really slow, and which obviously makes you quite weak against fast moving enemies. And on the plant side, there are a lot of fast moving enemies, namely all of the bees, because they constantly jump around, use hyper, and playing against these enemies is really a pain with the wrestling star. So yeah. Also, I think the wrestling star, I don't know, I may be wrong on that, but I think it also overheats quite quickly. So not that strong. Hockey star, in my opinion, is pretty bad. I mean, it's still an all-star, and you still have really cool abilities. However, you do a lot less damage than the regular all-star, and the freezing here is pretty much useless because, I don't know, it really takes a lot of shots for you to freeze an enemy, and it doesn't happen a lot with this one. With the, oh no, it's not the hockey star, it's the, I don't know what his name is, but the ice all-star, not good. Baseball star, yeah, pretty average. The level 10 all-star. Honestly, I think it's really, there isn't really any reason for it, because it's just, the regular all-star, just slightly weaker. So yeah. Oh yeah, here we go. Here I think this is the hockey star, and this is the one with the gloves, I think. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it must be him. And he actually, I think, is really cool. So the thing with him is he has this gun which fires really fast. There's a lot of damage up close, even more than the regular and the gold star. However, it overhits pretty quickly. And when it comes to people Plants vs Zombies Garden Warfare, obviously there are a lot of 1v1s happening. You have a lot of HP, and people pretty much take 20 seconds or something in the gameplay to duel it out, pretty much. And here, the hockey star can shine because you have really strong abilities, as I said, imp, ultra tackling, and you also have a gun that does a fuck ton of damage up close. I think you still do, I don't know, 8 or 9, and this thing shoots extremely quick. Also, with the, I think it's Driftwood Shores, I think is the map name, the one with the sunflower at the end, where you have to bring down the sunflower. Also for this last garden, this one is really good because you can put out a lot of damage in a short time. Rugby star, yeah, also not that strong. You have these explosive rugby balls, which explodes. That sounds kind of cool. However, this one also overheats pretty fast and shoots kind of slow. Still a bit faster than the wrestling star, and overall damage output on the rugby star is not that great. Cricket star, I think, goes into pretty strong because this one even though one of the biggest disadvantage with this one is that let's go down a bit. This one is the fire variant of the all-stars, that's fire damage. However, the disadvantage is this all-star has a really slow projectile, the cricket star. And it has a really strong arc, so you really have to hold your cross a lot higher if you're fighting someone at a longer distance. Let's say I'm fighting this cactus this here, and you have to aim up a lot because the projectile is really slow, takes a lot of time to reach the enemy and to damage, and also has an insane arc. But still, up close, pretty good fire damage. I love it. Alright, let's continue on with these soldiers. General Supremo, average. He's very similar to the All-Stars, that he has pretty much unlimited ammo, but his gun can overheat after some time. And yeah, I mean, that sounds fine, but the problem is the damage output and the accuracy on the General is pretty weak. So yeah, he is really usually not all that good. Camo Ranger, pretty strong. This is probably my favorite characters to go for high streaks because, obviously plants have to be defended, and if they play it right, they don't move a lot. However, you can pretty much counter this with this guy. It's pretty much like a cactus, but for the zombies, and that is really nice because you have the rocket jump, and you can jump on the buildings and then snipe plants. And the nice thing here is that he has a very fast fire rate, actually, a lot faster than most of the cactus or cacti. So you can really go like boom, 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 and take out an enemy, reload, take cover, and then kill the next one. And yeah, this is probably my favorite characters to go on high streaks. I have gotten multiple 20, I think even I got a 29 streak with this guy. And it's not that hard, you just have to stay a little bit back, make sure that, the enemy characters don't pick you off, especially if someone is playing camera characters, then, it kind of ruins the fun. But usually also, he still, other than the characters, he still is pretty good up close, don't underestimate this guy up close, he still is pretty strong. So he's definitely deserves the very strong tier. Tank Commando, yeah, this is by far my least favorite soldier variant. Honestly, I think it's pretty bad. The reason for that is obviously he does explosive damage, he has a huge, splash damage area, and pretty much, I don't know, in 1v1s it's kind of usually isn't that good because even if you miss one shot, you instantly have to reload, and you miss another shot, and you have to reload again, and at that point you're pretty much dead without even having done a single point of damage. At least that happens to me very often. Occasionally he can be, kind of a nice support soldier, I think, when you can, get up on a roof and chill there for a bit and, just provide indirect fire into the garden, cleaning out mines and stuff like that. Yeah, this is really his use case, I think. Other than that, direct combat, he is really weak, and I don't know, I don't play him very much. Maybe someone who really has perfected him. There are some people who are really good with him. I personally don't like him. Centurio, average, in my opinion. Why? Well, he's super similar to the Camo Ranger. The difference is he does less damage, has less magazine capacity, also has a bit less recoil, the Camo Ranger still has quite a bit of recoil. The Centurio has a lot less, and he does fire damage. However, he also does very little damage, honestly. I think he does 12 at long range, and 18 up close or something like that. He still is reasonably effective up close, and reasonably effective at long range, though he's just average. So that's why he's an average. Yes, the regular foot soldier, also pretty strong. Once again, very similar case to the regular P, that I think is pretty underrated, but not quite as underrated as the regular P. In your regular games, you still see him from time to time, unlike the regular P, which you pretty much never see for some reason. He is actually really nice to play. He's a great fire rate, quick reloads, lots of ammo, nice damage, especially up close, but also, still a solid pick for long range. Overall, just a really balanced, nice soldier, perfect pretty much to get you started and familiar with the character. So I think pretty strong is where he belongs. Jet Fighter, I think is his name. I don't know it. I haven't, as you can see, I haven't played him very much. And the reason for that is that pretty much the regular soldier does everything that he can, but it's straight up better, you know. He's very similar to the CZ Scorpion in Call of Duty, if you have played Black Ops 2. He has very low ammo capacity, but shoots really fast, and also does very little damage, usually. He only does, I think, 4 or 5 damage at medium range, and that's just not great. And on short range, you know, you really burn through his magazine, you know, in just, you know, 2 seconds or something like that. You have an insane fire rate, but not that much damage, so you will be constantly reloading, and it happens a lot with this one that you're in a one-on-one fight with, you know, a cactus or a pea, and well, you miss a few shots, boom, you can't kill the enemy, you run out of ammo, you have to reload, which also isn't super fast, and boom, you're dead. Unfortunately, it happens very often with the Jet Fighter, I think is his name. Next up, what is his name? Arctic Soldier. Well, it's the Ice variant, and it's actually, I don't know, it's very similar to the ISP. So you have a slightly less damage, you have slightly less ammo capacity, or magazine capacity. However, you can freeze enemies, and with this one, you know, it happens somewhat regularly. You only have to land, I think, about half your magazine to freeze an enemy, which is honestly not that, you know, not that unreasonable to do. And you can, you know, freeze enemies quite often with him. And yeah, other than that, he is definitely playable. Oh yeah. Next up, and the final soldier is one of the most broken characters in Garden Warfare. You know, if you have played Garden Warfare for any time, you have probably, you know, seen this guy like a zillion times on the zombie team. Why? Because he simply is the best zombie you can play, period. You have, however, I want to point out, you definitely need the upgrade, which allows him to have 4 shots instead of 3. He pretty much is, you know, a burst soldier, you know. You have 4 shots in the magazine, which all get shot pretty much at the same time. They do a lot of damage, and then you pretty much reload super fast. So it pretty much goes like brr, reload, brr, reload. And the damage output on him, also similar to these two here, is just insane, you know. For example, if you see a P, even with the machine gun shooting at you, just straight up take the aim tool, you know, jump around a bit and shoot that P down, because I'm pretty sure that this guy puts out more damage than at the P. He also is, in my opinion, very similar to the Camo Rangers in a few aspects. He is really good at long range, but unlike the Camo Ranger, which is only, I would say, pretty average at close range, he still is really good at close range. And he pretty much is awesome in every situation, you know. On short range, you put out a lot of damage. On long range, you can be very accurate. On medium range, you know, you still have really good damage, nice accuracy. You can't go wrong with playing, I think Super Commander is his name, or Z4, as everyone calls him. Really strong. Alright, next up, let's switch to the scientist. And let's start off with my favorite one, which is where is he? Marine biologist. You know what, I put him in the god tier and he goes that out. I think that is more fair. Marine biologist is really, really strong. You have 7 shots, which, you know, doesn't sound all that impressive. However, you can shoot really fast, reload quite fast, and most importantly, put out a lot of damage. Like this guy, I think, consistently does 40 damage up close, you know, which means you only need 4 shots to kill an enemy. And you also have the sticky bomb things with the scientists. You can heal yourself. You have the warp, which, you know, allows you to easily get away from beans or jumpers. Yeah, marine biologist, really fucking strong. Definitely my favorite scientist. Yeah, great character. Moving on. What's his name? It's the space variant with the moon rock cannon. He also is, in my opinion, pretty strong. The big thing with him is he's the only scientist where I would say he is better at long range than at short range. And the reason for that is that he is super accurate, has projectiles that, moon rocks pretty much is what he shoots, that that fly really fast through the air. And the damage still is, perfectly fine. Up close, many of the other scientists are better in my opinion. However, he still is no slouch up close because you shoot really, really fast, have a nice big magazine capacity, also reloads are pretty quick. Space scientist zombie thing, he is definitely deserves to be in the category pretty good. The regular scientist, he's straight up average in my opinion. He does nice damage up close, pretty weak damage at long range. You have the warp, you have 6 shots, pretty basic, nothing special. He's okay. Which one is it? He's the archaeologist, I think. The one who shoots coins and stuff like that, not the fire one. I always get these two mixed up. Not that strong. The nice thing with him is you have a big magazine capacity. However, you do very little damage, and also I think you pretty much never see him online. He just isn't really strong, and there isn't really any reason to pick him. In terms of damage, these two are actually pretty comparable. However, Astronaut, that's his name. Now I remember. However, the Astronaut shoots significantly faster and is better at long range, so he is slightly better at short range maybe. However, that's debatable. I don't know. He is not as strong. Chemist, playable in my opinion. Now the thing with him is he only has a very limited range. He's very similar to these spray jumpers. However, being a scientist, he has way nicer abilities and actually can survive multiple enemies. And the next thing with him is, if you can get up close, which due to the warp you usually can, he can put out an insane amount of damage. However, he can be really hard countered if there are a few people playing Cactus, because that is one of the hardest counters in the game. Why? Well, because he can't reach them. They can use the drones, which the chemists can do nothing about, because he can't do any damage to them unless they are really stupid and fly super low, but that usually never happens. So chemist, playable. If you can get up close, he is absolutely strong, and he can absolutely annihilate plants up close. You can easily get 4 kills, 5 kills in a garden with him. Definitely doable. However, if the enemies know what they're up against, they can counter you pretty hard. Dr. Chester, I think is his name. He is pretty much a mix of these two. He shoots really fast. However, he only, similar to the chemist, only does damage up close. You don't have a projectile here, just like him, and only once the enemy is 10 meters away, you do 0 damage. You can't even hit him. However, he has a really fast fire rate, really fast reload. I would put him even in the same tier as the chemist. However, the problem here is he only has 6 shots, I think, and he shoots really fast. So what often happens is you want to clear a garden, you kill an enemy, and oh no, you run out of ammo, you have to reload, and you get killed. That unfortunately happens quite often. However, if you can, force your enemies in one-on-ones and get up close, he absolutely wrecks people. Other than that, he is really, he's quite situational, honestly. Similar to the Camo Cactus. So yeah, I think it's deserving it. These two are in the same tier. Next up, Dr. Toxic, I think is his name. Yeah, it's the poison scientist, and he is pure trash. Why? Well, awful damage, only 6 shots, and yeah, just, I don't know. I don't know what they thought when they made this character, to be fair. There is nothing special about him. He's just, the regular scientist, but way weaker, way nerfed, because he does less damage up close, even less damage at range. Yeah, sure, he does damage over time a bit with the toxic damage, but it's so little, it doesn't really make him deserving of any higher spot. So he is pure trash in my opinion. Next up, Physician, I think. I definitely haven't played him very much. Yeah, he's the Electro variant. Very situational also. Usually you're better off with, any other scientist, to be honest, besides Dr. Toxic. The only thing where he really shines is if there are a lot of enemies in the garden and you can take them out, with electro damage. Then he is quite nice. Other than that, don't even bother. Paleontologist. Only is average in my opinion. I think he is pretty, or only, I think I'm going to put him in playable. I think he's quite overrated because from, what I've seen in matches, he is not by a huge margin, but it feels like he is the most played scientist at the moment. And I don't think, because he's so played much, I don't think he is that strong, honestly. The nice thing with him is you have splash damage, quite a bit, and fire damage. And these two combined, yeah, they sound pretty cool. However, his damage up close is not that strong. I mean, it's still strong, stronger than most other characters. However, something like the marine biologist, I think he also can, put out 70 damage with one hit. Where is he? He can only put out 40. The paleontologist, I'm not sure his name, but the fire scientist. So yeah, also on long range, just, I don't know. I have a really hard time getting a kill with him because a lot of people say, oh yeah, he's good at long range. I don't really know. For me at least, yeah, it's, as I said, subjective, so play it. Moving on with the engineers. Yeah. Oh boy. Let's start off with what is, in my opinion, the weakest of them all, and that is the... I don't know, that's really hard actually. I think it's actually the regular one. He goes in not that strong. Why? Well, he isn't particularly bad, but all of the others have really cool... the others are simply better. That's what's happening here. As soon as I got any one of these, I wouldn't play the regular engineer all that much. And that's not to say that he's super weak, but yeah, I don't know. He is just not that exciting, honestly. Also, similar to the paleontologist, the welder does fire damage, the splash damage. However, the base damage is pretty low. So yeah, usually you're better off choosing any of the others that you have available. Same boat also goes for the painter here. Now the painter is kind of, I don't know, it plays out like kind of like a sniper variant, and by that I mean he does great at long range. He is the only one of them, of the engineers, that actually has a projectile that flies really fast and doesn't have an arc. If you have played any type of engineer, you have probably, well, the mechanic obviously doesn't have an arc too, that you have a really strong arc with most of these projectiles. You stand here and the projectile goes into the air and goes down. And you have to compensate for that, obviously, if you're playing at longer ranges. Now, he doesn't have that. However, at close range, he just, you don't do any splash damage or almost none. I'm not quite sure. Don't play the painter much either. So, yeah, I think he is average, sometimes it's actually pretty nice when you build the teleporter and you can snipe some plants in the garden. That certainly is really cool. But if it comes to actually taking the garden, running in, he is not that strong. Moving on, Plumber. Pretty strong. Or, no, you know what? I'm going to put him in God tier. And this is immediately going to spark the question, what do I think is better, the plumber or the electrician? And my answer usually is the plumber. The reason is that he straight up does more direct damage, the electrician, in my opinion, does 37 and the plumber does 40. Now that doesn't sound like a big deal, but yeah, the plumber just feels stronger. And I also think the plumber has a slightly bigger, splash damage radius, at least that's what it feels like, which makes him extremely, extremely effective at clearing a garden by indirect fire, what I call it. This essentially involves, standing back super far, and pretty much firing randomly in the garden, which is something you really should do with him, because that's where he excels. And by doing that, you pretty much kill all the, cactus mines in the garden, and you just do make it really uncomfortable for the plants which are currently in the garden. And, they will either die over time, or they will leave the garden. Or a chemical cactus finds you, which, also happens quite often. But, yeah, plumber, pretty freaking strong. And also the electrician, as I mentioned, he is very similar, and I'm going to put him in pretty strong. These two are almost interchangeable. They work very similar, do lots of splash damage, lots of damage in general. However, they both have very slow projectiles, but I just think, obviously the electrician is even more effective if you have a lot of enemies. However, usually that doesn't happen all too often, even though sometimes, maybe if there are 4 or more plants in the garden, which is rather rare, to be honest, because usually plants try to defend the teleporter or run into the zombie spawn or something like that, then yeah, the electrician is more effective, but I would say in 80% of the cases, the plumber has the edge. On a very similar note, the sanitation expert, actually a character that I think is even slightly worse than the electrician. Fire slower, has, in my opinion, the worst projectiles. Yeah, I don't really see the point of him. These two are very similar, or these three. Well, you know what? I'm going to put them in the same tier because they are so similar, and I just think the plumber comes out on top. Mechanic. Yeah, he pretty much plays like a soldier, with his primary weapon, fires really fast, does low damage, no splash damage, doesn't really have a projectile, which puts him in average, in my opinion. Yeah, he's rather unique, and occasionally he can be really cool, but usually, no. And finally, goddamn, this took pretty long. I don't know, I think this already took more than an hour, but anyway, I love this game, so don't judge. I don't know what is his name. The Gardener, I think. I also don't play him too much, however, when I play him, I usually have a pretty good time. And the reason for that is that he fires really fast, and if you can directly hit your enemies, he can kill really fast, People often, I think, underestimate the power of the Gardener. I'm not 100% sure what his name is. I think people quite often underestimate him, and he's definitely playable. However, he lacks splash damage, He does a bit of splash damage, up to 10 points of splash damage, However, the area of effect is really small. So, you know, you either hit the enemies directly or you die in a 1-on-1 with them. However, as I said, if you can hit the shots and if you can hit them consistently, it's kind of similar to the P right here, to the revolver. However, not quite as strong, so I think playable is, it's fair for an engineer. And that's where I leave it. If you somehow made it through this video, write Deputy 3 times in the comments. And maybe share your opinion on my tier list, on things you would change, or things you agree, things you disagree. Anyway, that's it. Bye.